Every morning, you either wake up early to get to work on time or find another excuse you haven't told your boss, since traffic will keep you long on the road. It is for this reason that the Public Bicycle Sharing Conference brought together relevant stakeholders to discuss the benefits of cycling to both the economy and the environment. However, the question is, for a populist used to cars, how do you sell cycling to them?
Actually, it's very easy to get people cycling. Research all around the world has shown that 60% of the people want to cycle, but they're afraid of cars. And there's only 1% of the people who are not afraid. They're the type of people who will jump out of an airplane with no worries. So these people will cycle anywhere. And you find that in all cities all over the world, there's 1% of the people who cycle. If you build some cycling infrastructure, you can convince people up to 7% to cycle. And if you build some really good infrastructure, like we have in the north of Belgium and in Holland, then you can go all the way up to 60% of the people to cycle.
For cycling to work in the continent, proper policies have to be put in place to enable it. According to Amanda Ngabirano, lecturer urban planning, Makerere University, top of that list is proper infrastructure and clear-cut traffic laws that will govern the cycling sector.
The government has to have a policy that actually backs its projects for the people, for cycling, for walking. So we need a policy about integrated transport or active mobility that will safeguard space for these people. The roads have to be shared. Roads have never been for only cars. Cars came into the system to save time, to make life faster, for privacy, but we shouldn't be enslaved in that. So the government has to have the policy in place. There has to be enforcement, because after the projects have been implemented, you will see still motorists going in the road space for the cyclists. So enforcement has to be very, very strong from the start. Then the African cities have to do the roads. They have to design them for people. When I look at Nairobi, you see, they try to provide for a cyclist, for a pedestrian, but then they stop somewhere. It's like the cyclist should fly in some points, but for the car network, it's continuous. So they must have everybody in their minds when they're in the boardrooms, these planners and traffic engineers. So governments have to get the right people to do these things.
Further to this, Amanda says the economic implications of cycling are enormous if the sector is properly tapped into. For example, bike building and assembling plants is an industry worth billions of dollars worldwide.
Africa has to realize that cycling is business. We are going to employ so many people. The youth that are unemployed can be absorbed in the cycling industry, in the assembling plants of bicycles, in the accessories of bicycles, bicycle sharing stations. You see many people employed in Copenhagen. Cycling industry employs so many people in their country, and these are rich people. In Africa, we need jobs. So this would be like a win-win all the time. You get jobs, you get health, you get environment protected, and you get a more friendly city.
Equally, Ivan Faze adds that cycling opens up and promotes the low-level retail sector due to the ease of mobility and parking space.
There's some wonderful economic benefits. People who own shops, they think that people come by car. Reality is that most people don't go by car to a shop. There's only 13% of the people who go by car in Nairobi. But even worldwide, where there's a lot of cars available, if you try to find a parking space, you can almost never find one in front of a shop. But if you go by bicycle, you always have space in front of a shop. So if you look at how many customers, they did the research with the individual shop owners. They said, how many people do you think come by car? And they said, well, probably around 80%. Reality was that it was 10% coming by car, if you really ask the question. But this is Belgium, and about 40% came by bicycle, and another 40% came on foot or public transportation.
Cycling is a fairly new concept in the urbanized Africa. To this, the sector has a long way to go if it is to excel. For this reason, Amanda says it can borrow some lessons from successful cycling nations such as the Netherlands.
The biggest lesson that we can learn is to integrate our working approach. The people in those countries, the ministries work together at the national level, at the regional level, at the local level. We have no room for competition when we need good results. Because if you plan for a cycling network and then someone from the Ministry of, let's say, Trade comes up and complains, my business people are complaining, then that's already sabotage. But you don't see it in these countries. They coordinate and they sit together to have these projects work. The other thing that I have seen working is doing the real work, not talking. They actually go to meetings, they develop policies, and they implement them. Most African governments have policies that they don't implement. They have plans that they don't implement. If we could implement just a third of our plans, we would be having another face as Africa in terms of mobility, in terms of urban development. So 2 things: integration of our work and also doing the real work.
When all is said and done, it is estimated that Nairobians spend up to 4 hours a day on traffic. This is the exact times that it takes one to fly from Johannesburg to Nairobi. This translates to time and resources loss. For this reason, it is high time various modes of transporting people, cycling included, are embraced to deal with the traffic jam menace and economic hemorrhage it causes once and for all.